Mike Jones has a sterling reputation in the community of Panama City, Florida. He's a popular retired cop and the head of security for the Bay County School Board. But on December 14th, 2010, he became known as a hero. Mike was on vacation and wasn't supposed to be at the bi-monthly school board meeting that day. But he was called to answer some questions about items on the agenda and decided to attend the meeting.
I came here to the Nelson building. When I arrived, the meeting had already started, and I went upstairs to my office to check in.
It was a normal meeting. I mean, this was one of those, we've got 2 meetings a month, and we went through the normal recognitions, proclamations, and everything that we normally do, and dismissed all the kids.
Minutes later, Clay Duke walked to the front of the room. He was the disgruntled husband of a school district employee who had been fired.
We all the time have members of the public that have something they want to say. And then he started spray painting on the wall. And it wasn't until shortly after and he had finished drawing the V that we saw the handgun. The next 6 minutes or so was seemed like forever.
When he asked all the male board members and the superintendent to stay there and everyone to clear out, that's when you knew this wasn't a drill, this wasn't fake. He was very serious, and he had some pretty serious intentions at that point.
I tell people I've never seen evil like that in someone's eyes.
I wasn't in the building 5 minutes, and I got a call from one of the people that were watching what was happening in the boardroom and said, "Mike, there's a man in the board meeting room with a gun, and we don't know if the gun is real or not." People were running everywhere, running for their lives. And I opened the door just a little bit to look inside, and I wanted to find out if that was a real or a play gun, if this was a hoax. And when I looked at the gun, and 36 years in law enforcement, I said, "That's a real gun."
Although Mike was armed, he knew his weapon couldn't compete with Clay Duke's 50 rounds of ammunition. Mike decided to run to his car to retrieve a larger gun, more ammunition, and a bulletproof vest. In the meantime, the school board members leaned on their mutual faith to sustain them through the next few minutes.
So at that point, in my eyes, the most powerful thing I could do was pray.
As tense of a situation it is, there was a peace and there was a calmness in the room. You had the 2 administrators that had spent a lifetime as administrators talking this guy down.
Will you let them go?
And then you had everybody else in the room that almost on cue was like, just stay silent.
And I remember, I was right here. I remember just like it was yesterday. Okay, I'm going to get shot and I'm probably going to die, but I know where I'm going. And I just had a calm come over me. It just gave me peace.
At that point, school board member Ginger Littleton came back in the room and stepped up with an unforgettable act of bravery. Her actions made Duke switch the position of his body, which put the desk between him and the school board members.
If Miss Littleton had not hit the guy with the purse, that made him think, well, maybe I don't need to be up here on stage because there's the weak point, or there's a point I can't see. I don't believe we would have come out there alive.
I could tell by his eyes what he was getting ready to do. I knew he was getting ready to shoot me. I mean, I just knew it.
Duke fired at Superintendent Husfeld at point-blank range. But instead of striking the superintendent, the bullet struck the 3-inch notebook in front of him. Just 3 inches spared his life.
It hit the notebook, and I think what happened was the notebook hit me, and then I went to the ground. I'm laying on the ground thinking, I know I'm shot, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to hurt more than this. I tell people I knew God was in the room with us. I just didn't know he was standing in front of me.
Mike Jones had entered the room just as Duke started shooting.
And as he turned this way, I fired my first shot and struck him here, and I shot him again. As I shot him the second time, he shot around at Steve Moss, the school board member.
Steve Moss was the only school board member who didn't duck while the first few rounds were fired. He wasn't sure what kept him in his chair, but looking back, he's thankful.
If I had a dove and got out of the way when I should have, when the average person should have, when someone starts firing at you, I would have dove right here. Right here is exactly where his second bullet hit, right here, and his third bullet hit up here.
Duke fell to the floor from his wounds. That's when he unloaded his gun on Mike.
Because he was laying on the floor, his bullets actually went through these chairs and struck the wall where I was standing when I fired my first 3 rounds. And there's 5 documented bullets that hit the wall back there, and it was a perfect halo of bullets around my head, and none of them struck me.
Duke unloaded several more rounds of ammunition in Mike's direction before taking his own life.
When the Superintendent Husfeldt stood up and he said, "Mike, everything's okay," because I knew he was dead. How do you miss a man 8 or 10 feet away, point blank, with a gun pointed right in his face? How do you miss him? That's when I realized that God had just wrapped his arms around me. And that was when I realized it. I was a very blessed man. You see those shots and you see that picture, there's no doubt in my mind who was running the show that day and who was running my life.
Within hours, the Bay County School Board incident was in the center of national news. In front of the world, the school board members shared that it was God who saved their lives. Today, they still serve on the school board.
It helped me to have no doubt that when I put my faith and trust in God, it'll work out to His glory. And it doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to Christians. It just means that God's going to be there with you even if the bad things happen.
If one of those bullets had have hit me, I know without a doubt I would be in heaven. Not because I'm a good person, because I do good things, but because I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And I tell folks, be prepared, because you simply don't know if tomorrow is going to be there.
A police report the next year revealed that Duke's second shot had been meant for board member Ryan Neves.
We realized that after he shot at the ground and they lifted it back up, they pulled the trigger again at me, and nothing happened. I don't think there was a person that was involved in that situation that can't say that something miraculous happened and that there was somebody in the room with us that was protecting us through the situation.
Because of his actions that day, Mike was given the highest award given to law enforcement officers, the Congressional Badge of Bravery. But he says the glory belongs to another.
I describe it to people as like God had me like a little puppy by the nape of the neck and was leading me through it. He used me for what He needed done that day, guided me, and I give Him all the glory for it. I mean, I'm not Wyatt Earp. It was all God's doings that day.